US President Joe Biden has said US troops may stay in Afghanistan beyond his withdrawal deadline as armed Taliban fighters kept desperate evacuees from reaching Kabul's airport.
The idea that the Taliban would take over was premised on the notion that
Mr. Biden wants US forces out by the end of the month, but up to 15,000 US citizens are stranded in the country. The president has said in an interview that the turmoil in Kabul was unavoidable. Foreign governments are ramping up the airlift of Western citizens and Afghans who worked with them. Washington has pledged to evacuate all remaining American citizens, along with 65,000 Afghans, such as former translators for the US military. Meanwhile, since the weekend, Kabul's airport has played host to scenes of chaos as crowds try to leave, fearing a return to the Taliban's hardline rule. Gunshots were fired into the air near crowds of people. Witnesses said armed members of the Taliban were preventing people from reaching the airport, including those with the necessary documents to travel.
I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happened.
Do you believe the Taliban have changed?
No. Let me put it this way. I think they're going through sort of an existential crisis about, do they want to be recognized by the international community as being a legitimate government? I'm not sure they do.
Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry says his country is on its knees after more than 2,000 people were killed in Saturday's powerful earthquake. More than 12,000 people have been left injured and 332 are still missing after the 7.2 magnitude earthquake. There were further tremors in the past 24 hours, causing many to rush from their places of shelter into the streets. Haitian officials estimate there are 600,000 people in need of emergency assistance. The delivery of aid has been further hampered by heavy rains brought this week by Tropical Storm Grace. The United Nations says around 500,000 children have limited or no access to shelter, safe water and food. At least 47 people, including 30 civilians, have been killed in northern Burkina Faso in a clash between Islamist militants and government forces. At least 19 more people were wounded after the suspected jihadists raided a military convoy escorting civilians. The government said 14 soldiers and 3 volunteers from a local militia also died. Algeria has decided to review its relations with Morocco, accusing its neighbour of hostile acts. It follows an investigation into the killing of a man falsely accused of starting wildfires. They accuse Morocco of backing a separatist group suspected of being involved in criminal activity in the Kabylie region, including the killing of a man falsely accused of starting those fires. Animal abusers could soon face harsher punishments in South Korea as the country plans to amend its civil code to grant animals legal status. By 2019, nearly 1 in 5 people in South Korea owned pets, but the number of animal abuse cases had also risen more than tenfold. If Parliament passes the amendment next month, it would make South Korea one of only a handful of countries to recognise animals as beings with a right to protection, enhanced welfare and respect for life. And finally, the skateboarding elite competed in front of the Eiffel Tower in France in front of a very special guest. Brazil forward Neymar was cheering on his friend who was taking part. The skateboarders showcased their skills in front of a crowd of around 3,500 people. Skateboarding has become even more popular globally since featuring at the Olympics in Tokyo. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel studios in Lagos.